Hello and welcome back to the Grapple Theory podcast. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Now, our guest today joins us all the way from Texas in the United States. We're going back over the pond this week with our guest. She's someone who's had an incredible 12 months. She's picking up loads of belts. She's winning loads of matches. She's traveling a lot. She's wrestled not only in her home state of Texas, but all over America and over here in the UK twice this past 12 months as well. We'll be talking to her about that, about her experiences in the UK with the likes of RevPro and EVE and who she wants to face over here, and as well as back home and who to look out for in Texas if you fancy exploring that scene a little bit more. We'll also be talking to her about a couple of hidden talents she's got, and also about her sort of controversial food opinion to do with the Texas staple fast food Whataburger. We'll be talking about all that plus much more. Delighted to welcome to the podcast this week Hyan. Hyan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's a great pleasure to have you on. Let's talk about your last 12 months, because let's break this down, shall we? So, you hold something like 3 belts at the moment, right? You've held 4 belts over the last year?
Something like that. It feels like a lot.
I think it's 4. I think it's 4. You've obviously wrestled in the US and the UK. You made the top 40 of the PWI Women's 150, which is incredible. You got married in 2021 as well, is that right?
I did.
Yeah, there we go. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I mean, so I think it's fair to say, right, that you've had a pretty crazy 12 months.
It feels like it. I mean, to me, I guess it just feels normal, but sometimes I have to zoom out a little bit and realize I guess I have been doing a lot.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, did you have any I guess goals or anything when wrestling was coming back? Were you in the next 6 months, the next 12 months, I want to have achieved this, or was it sort of just coming back and seeing how it went?
A little bit of both. When the pandemic, I mean, I guess technically we're still in the pandemic, but when things were kind of starting to open back up, I put out a tweet and I was like, I just want to go wrestle in Europe. I think that was a goal. I just put it out there. I didn't even expect anything to come from it. I just put it out there. And then I think maybe within 2 weeks, I thought hey, do you want to come over to England and wrestle for RevPro for 2 months? And I was like, yeah, I will drop everything that I'm doing to go do that. And that's just been such an amazing experience, and being able to go there twice within the last 12 months has been so cool. And I realize how fortunate I am to be able to do those things. After my second tour, because I was previously living in Illinois in the Midwest,
right,
for 2 years. When I came back this last time, I kind of looked around and I was like, I hate it here. It's so cold. There's corn everywhere. There's nothing to do. Chicago's cold, but I wasn't living in Chicago. And I was just I miss home. So I literally just grabbed all my stuff, put it in my little VW bug, and told my husband, I was like, I'll see you down there. And I just left. I couldn't be in there anymore. And then since moving back to Texas, it's just been really cool because I haven't been here in the last 2.5 years. And this is kind of where I came up initially, where I started training. And it's really cool to have such a warm welcome. Sometimes you feel that people would forget about you because you've been away for so long and they're like, who is this person? But it's been such an amazing experience, and I've been kind of taking the scene and getting all the belts, and so that's been really cool too.
Yeah, and there's a few things you mentioned there that I wanted to pick up on. The first is sort of the scene over in America, the indie scene, and you mentioned it there, and it's something we've spoken to a couple of other American wrestlers about. In the obviously, as a UK-based podcast, we have the British scene as one whole scene with England and Scotland and Ireland. It all counts as one thing. But I imagine in America, it's almost like a state-by-state scene rather than a national indie scene, because America is so vast that the Texas scene alone is just so huge, and you've been dominating that. But like you say, it must be weird to then come back after so long and have all those promotions and all those places welcome you back so fondly.
Yeah, it is very different. I always laugh. I used to make fun of the guys at RevPro because we'd have like, I remember the first time I went, we drove to Manchester and they were like, oh my God, 6-hour drive. This is going to be crazy. Like, we're all going to be so tired. And I was like, I drive 7 hours to Minneapolis. Like,
you're like, that's just my morning commute. That's fine.
But it is very like regional, I would say, like the Midwest with like, it all kind of surrounds Chicago, but like Illinois, Minneapolis, Ohio, Indianapolis, like all that whole area is kind of like, in St. Louis too, like that's probably like a good 9-hour driving radius, where I was kind of previously located. And Texas is like its own island. Like, people don't understand how massive the state is. Like, I can literally drive 5 hours in any direction, still be in the same state.
Yeah, I think I read that.
12 hours to get across.
Yeah, I think I read that somewhere. Like, I can't remember what city it was because my American geography is pretty good, but not like city by city good. I heard like that, like you could drive from like the east to the west of Texas and still be in Texas like 10 hours later, and it'd be quicker to drive to California.
Exactly.
And like, that's crazy.
Yeah, but honestly though, it's insane too, because I was in San Francisco a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh, I want to go do this LA Dojo seminar. My guy, I thought San Francisco and Los Angeles, I knew they were far, but I didn't know they were like that far. That's a 7-hour drive, and people make that drive all the time.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, American geography just astounds me sometimes. It's like the map you see online or like in a book or whatever, it doesn't put it into justice at all. Like, it's crazy.
No, it's a whole different scene. But I mean, it was nice not having to do like crazy long drives in England. Like, that's a definite plus.
Yeah, for you it's easy then. Like, for us it's hard work, but for you you're like, oh, it's a simple piece of cake.
Exactly.
Amazing, brilliant. Well, we'll get on to your trips over to the UK in a bit, but I want to ask as well, like, just in terms about returning home. I mean, that must be nice as well. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, do those Texas promotions sort of mean a bit more to you because it's home state and that extra sort of feeling you get going out there in front of, like, I guess, a hometown crowd?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really cool because I guess like my return to my home state, my area, was marked by like WrestleMania. So WrestleMania weekend was in Dallas. And so that I had probably been in Texas at that point, maybe for like 2 weeks or so. And so it all kind of jump started with Mania week, and I had maybe 5 shows within like 3 days or something like that. So it was a good way to kind of start things off, and then returning to reality of wrestling, and that's been my home since day one. And I love it there. And them doing the classic, the Sherry Classic, and winning that too, like that was super cool because a lot of people don't know how close Booker and Sherry were. Like, he walked her down the aisle at her wedding. Like, that's how close they were, and how much that tournament actually mean to him, and for him to be like, no, like, you're the girl, like, you're gonna win it. That meant a lot to me just because I know how much she meant to him.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you sort of lead on to that, and leading on that must have meant a lot to you. Again, as someone who's so close to him and he was so close to her, it must mean that extra bit more when he puts that faith in you to be like, yeah, you're the one I want to carry this. Yeah,
exactly. And it was such a cool moment. Like, Charmel came out, she gave me the bow. I was like, no, ma'am, I have to bow. You're the queen. So that was so cool too. I was like, Charmel, you're going to make me cry.
I was going to ask, it's something I don't think I've ever actually asked, but I'm very curious about in terms of, like, when you got that sort of moment and, you know, you're told beforehand that you're going to be winning it, is it only once the 3 is counted that you sort of really feel it and take it in? Is it like the rest of it you're not even focusing on until that 3 hits and then...
Yeah, exactly. So, like, you know, I love tournaments. They're fun, but my God, they are so exhausting. Because I wrestled 3 times that day. And just the way the brackets worked out, it was like a singles, then a triple threat, and then a singles. So, like, triple threats obviously take a lot more TLC because it's just like your brain has to think about 2 other people, not just yourself and your opponent. So that makes it a lot harder to do as well. So I was really stressing out about that. And I remember we were in the final round, and I remember asking Book, I was like, so are we going to have like a slight intermission between the triple threats and then the finals? Because we have no time. Like, I don't know what we're doing. And he was like, yeah, you'll have 10 minutes. I'm pretty sure it was like 2 minutes. And I didn't know like how the match was going to end. I didn't know how the match was going to go. Me or Promise, the other girl, we had no idea. And so we're talking like, okay, like, so what are we going to do? And we don't even get much out. We just hear my music play. And I just look at her and she looks at me and I was like, I'll see you out there, man. And she was just like, okay. So it's just like, I remember walking out there and having the most fake confidence ever. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. This might suck. This match might actually suck. Like, who knows? I just remember like going out there and just, I was like, if I just pretend like I know what I'm doing, then everyone might buy into it. So I just had, and it worked out in my favor. It actually came out pretty good for us, not knowing what the hell we were doing. And it didn't hit me until the 3 count, because I was like, it's over. It's finally over. And then that's whenever I was like, okay, like I can enjoy it now. I can enjoy the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we're on the subject of like, I guess the Texas scene, talk to me about New Texas as well, because again, you picked up the belt there this year as well. Another company that seems like it's like really close to your heart.
It is. So New Texas, I was there when they first started, like very, very first show. So I've seen the company grow from like a little indie. Now I would definitely say probably to the biggest independent in Texas. And they've done such a good job of spotlighting the talent that we have here, because Texas is so isolated from the rest of the country when it comes to like wrestling scene, because like you said, it literally takes hours to get out of the state. So you have to have a company want to invest in you to fly you out is really how you would get out and be seen. And so you have this like state of all these wrestlers that have been doing this for like 10 plus years that are insanely talented, but no one else has been able to see it because we've all just been stuck here, which is why I left the Midwest initially.
Right.
And so New Texas has done such an incredible job of spotlighting the guys that we have. So, for example, our champion right now is Brian Keith. And I remember when Twitter was going crazy over Brian Keith, and they're talking about how cool he is, how good he is. And I remember being on Twitter being like, have y'all not been paying attention? Like, BK has been super talented. He's been the guy. Like, this is not new information to us. We've already known. Same with, like, Mysterious Q and Gino and Roxy. Now Roxanne on NXT. Rachel Rose. Like, all of these people have been around here for so long. It's just we didn't have the platform to show it off. And New Texas is dear to my heart because not only have they spotlighted me, but they've spotlighted everybody else to the point that now, like, Brian Keith is wrestling all over the country. He's like a huge name. He's a huge commodity. Same with, all the other people I've listed.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's why I hold it very dear to my heart.
Yeah. And like you say as well, in sort of like as a 2-part thing, it must be cool, having been there from the beginning to see that company grow and be able to hold the top belt there. After having seen it grow, and also, like you say, almost having that like inside secret with the other guys who are now making names for themselves, to be like, I knew about that way before anyone else because I've been here.
Exactly. So it is really cool because Kiefer, who's the promoter of New Texas, he gives us so much like creative freedom. And like, if you tell him, look, I have the storyline, I want to do this, he's just like, all right, cool. Like, how do we make it happen? Like, he's very all about, because he's a wrestler himself, so he gets it. So he very much is open to ideas. And if you're like, hey, I want to have this rivalry with somebody, or I really want to bring this person in, he listens to all the roster, and he's like, hey, this person has been recommended multiple times. Let's bring them in. Like, let's do it. So he's all about the boys and the girls in the locker room. And I think that's what makes it like super, super special.
Yeah, that's really cool to see, like, as well, when a promoter gets that and he knows what it's all about. That's really cool. I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
And let's then, as a UK based podcast, let's talk about your time over in the UK. Like you say, like, you sort of picked up on it there with sort of the Texas guys moving out across the country. But when you get called sort of to another state or to the UK and Europe, it must be really nice, like, personally, to have that. Oh, like, someone's bothered enough to invest in me as a wrestler sort of feeling.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember, like, I was talking to Michael Oku after, I think it was High Stakes, when he wrestled Will. And I was talking to him and I was like, bro, I don't think you know how much pressure I put on myself when I came here the first time. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, the fact that someone paid for me to come over here to, like, wrestle. I treated every single match as, like, do or die. Like, I have to prove myself every time. I have to prove myself to Andy and all the people in the back that, like, I wasn't a mistake, or like I was worth what however much it was to bring me over. I had to prove myself and show that, like, I was worth it. And I took that very, 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 very seriously. Like, I was killing myself over there, and I loved it though. No complaints.
Oh no, for sure. But I totally get that. Like, again, almost like that pressure of, like, yeah, like you said, someone's paid for me to be here. I want to make a good impression.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I get that. And as well as RevPro, obviously you wrestled for EVE while you were over here as well. Yeah. I want to ask you about those two companies, because obviously, you know, as someone, again, who's UK based, it's very easy for me to say, like, oh, RevPro and EVE are probably two of the three biggest promotions here in the country. Do they have that pull, you know, in the States with, like, American wrestlers? Like, if you get the call, like you said, from RevPro, is that, like, a big thing?
In America?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. A lot of people know about RevPro in America. And I think it was one of my first matches during WrestleMania week. Some of the people, I remember commentary, I think it was for New Texas actually, on commentary, they said, yeah, you know, she just came back from England, and it wasn't just any company in England, it was RevPro.
Right.
And I remember them saying that I wanted to say that. And I thought that was really cool, the fact that they knew, you know, the platform that RevPro has. I mean, you can even see it with, you know, like, their partnership, everything that they're doing with AEW. That doesn't happen by accident, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And it's cool to know that, you know, again, as a British wrestling fan, it's cool to know that it has that pull over in the US as well. And as well, like I mentioned with EVE, I mean, again, if you talk about them, and I guess Stardom and Shimmer, probably, like, the three biggest, like, all women's promotions in the world. I mean, what was it like wrestling for them as well? As you mentioned, we had Dan on the show, and he loves a good, like, you know, import that's, like, really shines, and you definitely did that at EVE.
I loved it, because I've known about EVE for a while, because with Shimmer will bring in a lot of international girls. That's how I met Shazza a lot, like Steph DeLander, Indy, a lot of the Australian girls, and Charlie Evans, who came from over there, and Soraya Knight, like, I met her through Shimmer, all these girls. And I remember I wrestled Rhea in elimination triple threat at Shimmer. And, you know, I knew about her from EVE. So it was cool that, you know, you have, like, these two major women's companies that, like, invest so much, and you see the international talent that they bring in, how much they actually care. That's so important, because throwing on one women's match on a card doesn't mean you care. You know, they care. And I think that was so amazing. And the fact that I got to debut at Queendom of all, you know, what? Like, I've known about you for so long. And when I first started wrestling, Shimmer and EVE were one of the places that I wanted to go to, for sure.
Yeah, and that's really cool. It must be really nice to sort of check those things off, like, the bucket list as you go, like, as you progress in wrestling.
Yeah, and sometimes you check the list and then you go, like, okay, so like, what do I do now?
You got to think of some new stuff.
So what? What's next? It's such a weird feeling, but it is so cool.
So talk to me about that, because we mentioned at the start you've had an absolutely crazy year. What is next? What more do you want to achieve, or do you hope to achieve, say, moving forward?
I would love to continue to wrestle in different countries because it is not just for the cultural experience, because those things are important too, but you learn different styles of wrestling, how people do things, and I feel like that makes you more of a well-rounded performer. I read Brian Danielson's book when he had it, and he talked about, and even Chris Jericho's book, how they talked about like, they wrestled in Mexico and the United States, Germany, the UK, and how they say like, I learned this thing from this place, I learned this thing from that place, and if I didn't have these skill set, I would have failed in WWE. Was one thing that he said, and that both of them said, and I firmly believe that. I felt like I learned so much from being in the UK and being in Japan and wrestling in different parts of the United States. Like, you do really pick up little things and you put them in your toolkit. So then one day when you are on the biggest platform of them all, you can pull them out whenever you need them and keep yourself successful. Yeah, no,
really well said. Really well said. And going back to your time in the UK, we mentioned, of course, the driving and how that was like just a simple thing for you because you're so used to it. But what about, everything else in terms of like the culture and like sort of daily life while you were over here? How did you find it?
Oh, I thought it was amazing. I was staying in Portsmouth. It was like the southern tip.
Right by the sea, yeah.
Yeah, so it's cool because I get to see like an English beach, that was cool. And then I got to make my way over to Brighton and see all of that, and I thought that was super cool.
I love that. I'm from Brighton, like originally.
Oh, you're from Brighton? Yeah. Okay, cool. I was like, I would love so much to wrestle for Riptide, but at the time, I guess they weren't running it because, I had been there right when everything opened.
Yeah.
So they weren't running. But I've seen so much of their stuff, and they're like, oh, yeah, Riptide runs in Brighton. Brighton's a really cool city. I will say that. It's a really cool town.
Yeah, Brighton is really cool, like really diverse as well. I think, like, I've never been to Houston, but I think Houston as well, isn't it, quite diverse in terms of, like, cultures?
It's Yeah. Houston is a very diverse city, which when I moved to the Midwest, it is not diverse. I would say outside of Chicago, it is not diverse at all. So coming back to you is also really nice. And obviously, like, UK and London, so many different so much diversity there as well.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have loved to see you at Riptide. I was a regular at Riptide when they were running, and they haven't come back since after the pandemic. Hopefully they will, and hopefully
I hope they do, because I would love to go work for them. I'm no joke, I was literally watching Cara Noir versus Pac from Riptide yesterday.
That was a crazy, like, I was there for that moment, and I think we've got a section on this later, so I won't spoil too much, but that was probably, in terms of in person, like the biggest pop I've ever heard in my life, like actually being at a show. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, and it looked like a cool little spot. For real.
It's a crazy venue.
I wish I could wrestle there.
Well, if they come back, hopefully the guys there will book you. I'd advise as well, though, if they book you in the summer, bring like some of those like handheld fans with you, because the venue they base in, it was sweltering in the summer.
Oh, speaking, how are you guys doing with the heat?
Oh, it's all right. Like, the last couple of days, yesterday was all right. The 2 days before that were like, that was like 40 degrees. And that's, sort of on social media, you see people like in Australia and stuff who are like, oh, like, that's fine. Like, we're used to that by now. But like in the UK, we're not equipped for that. Like, we don't have like air conditioning and stuff in our buildings because the UK is not built for that. It's really warm.
Yeah, I know, like, in Houston, it gets to 40 degrees pretty frequently. Like, that, and our summers are pretty hot. But I would die if I didn't have AC. Yeah. Like, if I didn't have AC in my house, I'd be dead. Yeah,
I mean, I was working from home, literally, we had, like, 3 fans blasting, me and my partner, like one on her, one on me, one on the rest of the room, just cooling it down. And, like, we've got, like, guinea pigs as well, so we've had, like, 6 ice packs in their cage trying to cool them down. It's been... It was not a fun time, but get through it.
Yeah.
There's gonna be more days like that in the future, in the coming years. So you got to get used to it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's really cool, and it's awesome to hear you enjoyed your time over here. Have you got any plans to come back?
Not quite yet. I know that I have so Amira, she's actually coming to Houston, spending time with me in September for like 2 weeks, and having her get a little taste of the Texas indie scene as well.
Yeah,
so I get a
Amira.
little piece of UK back over here.
Yeah, for sure, and that must be cool as well. Like when you get, the guys and girls from the UK come over, and you can like introduce them to your culture as well, and like what you like to do.
It was cool because Michael was in Dallas for WrestleMania week, and I felt like I was his little chauffeur. I was like, "Do you want to try barbecue?" I was like, "You have to try Whataburger. That's like the thing here." I was like, "And you got to try some Mexican food. And here's a margarita." And he was like having a blast. He had a whole like cowboy Texas get up.
Yeah.
I was like, "We don't dress like this here, man." But
I love that though. I love that. That's amazing. And like again, okay, so I've got to ask. You might be slightly biased, but I have heard. Again, I've not been to Texas at all. But like, is the hype around Whataburger like legit? Is it?
It is.
Is it top tier? It's top tier.
It is really good. Like the fries are amazing. Like honestly, people always talk about In-N-Out is better, or like there's like an In-N-Out versus like Whataburger rivalry, but I was literally in California maybe like 4 weeks ago, and I had In-N-Out, and when I tell you, it's so underwhelming. It is absolute hot garbage. I would rather have McDonald's than In-N-Out.
Wow, this is laying it down.
Is better than both.
This is laying it down. We have like, it's not an intended segment, but we have this now like recurring segment of like controversial food opinions. And I think we're going to have to add that to it, because like that'll get you more heat than any sort of heel turn ever would in any promotion.
Probably. Honestly, yeah, probably. But I mean, it's so good. So like, it's going to sound weird, but like the ketchup from Whataburger is so good.
Yeah, people say, is it like a spicy one? I've heard people say that. Like,
yeah, they have the spicy ketchup and they have like regular ketchup, but the regular ketchup is called fancy ketchup.
Right.
You can literally buy it by the bottle now at stores. So, like that's how popular it is. And I remember I put on my like Instagram story like a picture of the bottle, and I was like, hell yeah. And Shea Purser, he like responded. He was like, I could like drink that, because I met him in Mania week 2, and I took him to Whataburger, and he's like, the ketchup alone makes everything so good.
Amazing. I love that. That's incredible. Well, I won't ask too much more about food, because we've got a couple of food questions later in another segment, so we'll get on to more about that.
Okay.
But again, what about in terms of, we spoke about like ambitions, but what about either over here, if you come back, or in America, in terms of people maybe you haven't faced yet or you want to face again that are sort of like top of your list? We talked about like bucket lists of things to do, but what about people to face? Who would be, say, your top few in that?
I would love to go back to RevPro and take that title from Alex Windsor.
She's got too many at the minute. She's holding too many titles. She doesn't need all. Actually, that's quite good, actually. I say that, but you're holding too many titles as well in a minute. It'll be battle of all the belts.
Yeah, winner take all. I'll take them all.
Why don't you walk out, just 7 belts around?
Oh, man, I'd have to have, like, some of the young boys be like, hey, can y'all carry some of these belts for me, please?
It'd be full on, like, have you seen that, like, that meme that goes around Twitter sometimes, and it's, like, Triple H, and he's got all the WWE belts, like the Divas one and all the other ones as well. It'd be like that. Yeah.
I would love to face her again. We wrestled each other at Wrestle Carnival the first time I was there, but I would love to do it again. Because I feel like even in like a short amount of time, we've both gotten a lot better. And I just feel like we could really do some damage out there.
Oh, for sure.
Charlie Evans, like, I've been wanting to, her and I have been talking about this. Like, how have we not been able to wrestle each other yet? Because even at Shimmer, we will like, I'm not joking, we will harass Dave Prazak and be like, can we wrestle each other? And he's like, no, you're both heels. What? No! And like, I think we didn't get a chance to whenever she was in it. Like, it just has not happened. Because we were actually booked against each other. I think it was in St. Louis. And the show got canceled. I'm like, why is this not happening? Like, she's one person I definitely want to get in the ring with, because it should have happened a long time ago, and the universe won't allow it.
We've got to make it happen. We've got to make that happen. That would be a 5-star match right there. Dave Meltzer would give that 7 stars. Like, that's what I feel like
we would just kick each other's heads in.
Yeah, and that's what I like. That's what we love. That's all we need, isn't it? From good wrestling. Yeah. Like, that's what you want. Exactly. Amazing. Well, we got a couple of other features, sort of half to do with wrestling, but half to do with a bit of yourself as well. Our first feature is called "What's in a Name," and so I want to ask you. Obviously, you know, in terms of your ring name, that's an extension of your name, and so that makes sense. But in terms of the Renaissance Woman, where did that come from? And in your mind, sort of in your shoot mind, if you were looking at it from an outside perspective, what would it take, or what does it take to be the Renaissance Woman? So
it all kind of started really when I would like talk to people. People would just learn random facts about me, and they would just be like, I didn't know you could do that. So, like, I knit. People are like, I didn't know you could do that. And then I play my saxophone, and they're like, I didn't know you could do that. So I feel like I have all these, like, random hidden talents, just like in my personal life, that people are always like, I didn't know you could do that. And which is part of being a Renaissance woman in real life. You know what I mean? And then in the wrestling ring, I can pull things out of my pocket. I can be technical if I need to. I can be a powerhouse if I need to. I could be a high flyer if I need to. And that just comes from knowing different styles and being a student of the game. And I feel like that's what it takes to be a Renaissance woman. And you have to be able to do it all.
I love that. Yeah. That's really cool because, again, that sort of goes back to your, like, hidden talents thing where, like, someone could be facing you in the ring and you could pull off a move and they're like, I didn't know you could do that. Like, what?
Exactly. Like, I remember... I went on like Instagram one time, this is a couple of years ago, and I had decided to pull out my saxophone. I hadn't played it in a little bit, and I was like, I should just like record myself and put it on Instagram. So I did it, and everyone was like, I didn't know you could play this, and da-da-da-da. So I was like, okay. And so this company called Sabotage, they used to do a talent show before the show.
Amazing.
So it was like a pre-show with all the wrestlers. They would do, like, I remember Shotzi Blackheart, she went and like sang. People just do different things. And Thunder Rosa was like, play your saxophone. So I was like, okay. So there's like a video of me somewhere, just like in the middle of a wrestling ring, playing like Super Smash Bros. On my saxophone. It's somewhere out there. That's Penelope Ford actually has the video.
I don't know what I love more about the fact that like that's a thing, or that you played Super Smash Bros. Theme on your sax.
And the funny thing is, like, I'm the bad guy. I'm a bad guy. But people are like, now, when I went out later on that night, they're like, oh, that's the girl that played the saxophone, so they're cheering for me. I said, I didn't think about that. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, that was the face turn that you didn't intend.
Exactly.
Amazing. That's brilliant. Anyone in the UK who's a promoter who's watching this, please run a talent show, because we need that over here. Like,
yeah, it's honestly, like, what I really liked about it, it was a really cool way for, like, the fans to really latch on to the talent, because they just see a different side of you, and they just like makes you more relatable. Yeah,
that side that you wouldn't see just from in-ring action.
Yeah, because I remember when Shotzi was singing, I was like, I didn't know she could sing. She can sing. And she was like going off on the mic, and everyone was like, okay, like that was super cool. And then when she came out later on that night, everyone was like, wow, you know?
Nice. I love that. That's all I want to see now. I just want to see someone else run the talent show or a wrestling show.
And for all the wrestlers, hidden talent.
If you, when you come back over here, can you suggest it to wherever you wrestle? Can you be like, can you bring the sax? Be like, I'll play this. Like, get a bunch of other wrestlers.
Show an intermission.
Love it. That would be amazing. That would be.
They'll probably be like, you're crazy.
But crazy is all about what indie wrestling is all about, right?
Exactly.
That's what we love. Brilliant. Well, we've got one closing feature here, and this is the bit where, apart from all the hidden talents, we're going to learn a bit more about you as a shoot. This is about yourself. This isn't about Hyan in the ring. This is about you. So I'm going to list off a few things, and you let me know what comes to mind.
Okay.
Because this section is called Anatomy of a Pro Wrestler. So we're going to be learning all about you here. Okay. So the first one is my favorite pre-show meal.
Protein bar. I don't like to eat a lot because I get really nervous.
Yeah.
And then I get nauseous because I'm nervous. So I try not to eat a lot. So protein bar.
That's fair enough. Keep it simple. I like it. Well, on the opposite end of the spectrum, the next one is my favorite post-pinfall pig out.
Whataburger with a a bottle of Shiner Bock, which is like a local Houston beer.
Nice. What's your order at Whataburger? What do you get?
Sweet and sour burger.
Sweet and sour burger. Okay, is that beef or chicken though?
It's beef, so it has like bacon on it, and it has like a sweet and spicy sauce. And it used to be the A1 Thick and Hearty burger, but then they took that one off the menu and they brought this one in. But I mean, luckily it's like a suitable replacement, but I was upset.
Yeah, I hate that. Like when your favorite thing goes off the menu, like why?
Exactly. I went on a whole rant about this, actually after a show for reality wrestling, because we all go to the same bar.
Right.
After the show. And I hadn't been there in a few years, and me and Kylie Ray discovered that you can order dessert at the bar.
Okay.
And they have like this chocolate mousse there that was like so good. So we got everybody after the show to just be ordering chocolate mousse after the show. And so I get back there and they didn't have it anymore. And I swear I cut like a 30-minute promo on why they should have it. And I was so mad. I was like, well, what do you guys have? And they're like, we have bread pudding. I said, okay, I'll get the bread pudding. And it was actually really good. So I'm a fan of bread pudding.
But that's the part you can't admit to yourself, right? Like it's really good, but you're like still like I wanted the mousse more, so it doesn't
Exactly.
feel that need, that craving.
Yeah.
Brilliant, love it. Well, the final sort of food-based one, and this is again with somewhere that I know, again haven't been, but I know that Houston has a real like melting pot of different foods. So I'd be really interested to know this from you. It's just your favorite type of food, like no shows to worry about or anything. It's just a random day and you fancy your favorite food. What would you have?
Mexican food, tacos.
Nice. What would you get in them?
I like to get al pastor, which is just like this like marinated beef with like it's like marinated with like pineapple.
Nice.
And it just comes with like corn tortilla, meat, cilantro, and diced onions. That's all you need.
Nice. Love it. Like 12, 15 of those.
Exactly. Which I was so sad. Because the UK does not have proper Mexican food.
No, our Mexican food is garbage. Like I'll happily admit that. Like I'll hold my hands up and say that like for me my favorite Mexican food here is Taco Bell, but that's because like the restaurant stuff is like not even that good and it costs way more. So why would I pay for it? You know what I mean?
So I remember I stressed out Zoe Lucas one time because I went to I think the restaurant was like Slug and Lettuce.
Oh no.
And I got, that's what she said. And so I ordered nachos because like sure enough you can't screw up nachos. And so I see like this like white cream, so I'm thinking sour cream on nachos because that's just what you do. So I like get the chip, I dip it in sour cream, eat it, and I go, and it wasn't sour cream, it was mayonnaise.
Yeah.
And I texted Zoe. I was like, I'm calling the police right now. And she just didn't know what I was referencing to. She just got a text message and said, I'm calling the police. And she said, oh my God, what's happening? And then like I finally sent her the rest of the text. Like they put mayonnaise on nachos. She was like, oh my God, I thought I was having a heart attack.
No, that's bad. That is awful. No, I wouldn't go Slug and Lettuce for food like that. No, like if you
that's
like
what she said you don't go there for food, you go there for drinks.
Yeah. I mean, like if when you're back here, I guess like the most passable thing for like Mexican food is a place called Oaxaca, and that's like pretty good, but like it will cost you way more than like tacos would cost you over in the States. Like you'll pay like £8 for like 2 or 3.
Oh, that's expensive.
So like it's costs a lot more, but like it's the best. It's probably the best Mexican food there is in my experience. But I haven't been to
like make my own because I remember I made Davis from Aussie Open. I made him like some like Mexican breakfast tacos. I said, "This is what I eat back home here."
Nice. Did you like?
And he was like, "This is pretty good."
Yeah. Love it. Amazing. Well, moving from food to music, the next one is the song that gets me the most hyped.
My entrance music, which is "Who Gonna Stop Me" by Jay-Z and Kanye. Nice. But I don't listen to it very often.
Sure.
I listen to it very sparingly because it's like my hype song. Like when it starts to build and I'm in the back, like that's what gets me really excited. So if I listen too much, it dilutes it.
Yeah.
So I only listen to it very sparingly.
I get that. That's fair enough. Well, in that case, in terms of stuff you would listen to more, the next one is my favorite band of all time. It doesn't have to be a band. It can be like, a solo artist or something, but my favorite music act. Yeah.
Probably Mark Anthony. So
nice.
I really enjoy Spanish music and salsa music. I probably listen to more Spanish music than I do English music.
Right.
I've seen him live 3 times, and if I ever met him, I would cry.
Well, in that case, this could be the answer to the next question, because the next one is the best gig I've ever been to.
Probably a Mark Anthony concert.
Yeah?
I know every single word to every single song. Like, it's kind of embarrassing because, like, he's been making music since, like, the early 1990s, maybe even, like, 80s. And I should know these songs. They're all well before my time, but I know all of them.
So where did that come from? Is it like almost like a, you know, were you raised on it kind of thing? Or, like, where did that passion for it come from?
Yeah, so my mom is Mexican and my dad is Dominican, and Spanish is my first language. Like, I went to school not knowing any English, so I learned English in school. And so growing up, and it's kind of like a meme, like, of, like, just growing up Hispanic, is just, like, every Saturday morning you get woken up to Spanish music, and that's your cue to be like, all right, you got to go clean. Like, time to clean the house.
Got it.
And that's just what I grew up on, and it's very, like, I guess nostalgic in a way, but also, like, Spanish music is so passionate, and they talk about really sad things. Like, you'll listen to a Mark Anthony song, and he's talking about, like, getting his heart broken. It sounds so sad. He's dying, but the beat is so happy. So it's, like, this very different thing. Like, the music is very happy, but the lyrics are very sad.
Sure, I get that. I can relate to that because, like, really weirdly, like, so I'm half Iranian, and, like, I can understand it, but I can't speak it as well as I can understand it. So my mum used to play, like, Persian music in the car, and, like, it would have this really happy beat, and, like, I'd have to check with her. I'd be like, am I hearing this right? Am I understanding? Like, is this what he's singing about? Because I think I understand it, but it doesn't go with what the music's saying. Yeah,
it's the same thing. It's the same thing, yeah.
That's crazy. I like that. That's really weird. I like it though. But, like, again, that makes sense as to why you know all those words then. If that's the sort of music you were raised on, then, like, because I was raised on, like, you know, like 80s music as well, but more like metal stuff. So I know, like, all the 80s metal bands, but, like, I'm too young to have actually lived through it. But that's cool. Like, that makes sense. That's cool. The next one is it's movies next. It's the movie that I'd show the locker room.
Oh, dude, that's hard. I feel like probably Selena.
Nice. Okay.
The movie Selena, just because it is, like, and the whole movie's pretty much filmed in Texas.
Right.
And she's from Texas, and her last big concert was in Houston, and, like, she's such a, like, figure in, like, Texas and Mexican culture that, like, if you really wanted to get to know more about me, watch Selena.
Nice. I like it. The next one's my favorite way to relax.
Scroll on TikTok.
You can get lost in that for hours, though. That's dangerous. That's a dangerous game.
It is. It's so bad. Like, I resisted getting on TikTok for the longest time because I was like, I'm already addicted to social media. But then I just said, like, screw it. I downloaded it, and I just started scrolling. And it's so funny. Like, it's a different form of social media. Because I feel like I'm watching TV.
Yeah. It's like a little program every minute.
Yeah, it's very entertaining and, like, so informative too.
But, like you say, like, super addictive. Like, you can end up, like, not like thinking you've not even been on there for any time, and it's been like half an hour or something.
Have you ever gotten? Oh, it's so bad. Have you ever gotten, like, the little, like, the actual TikTok notification where it's like, hey, you've been scrolling for a while?
I haven't had that. I can honestly say I haven't had that.
I've had that a lot. Actually. It's like a girl that pops and she's like, hey, you've been scrolling for a while. Why don't you take a break? Here, take some deep breaths. And I'm like, oh, no.
That's when you know. I didn't even know about that. That's when you know there's a problem, yeah.
Problem?
Amazing. The next one's a bit of a throwback because it's my first job.
My first job. I was a lifeguard.
Were you? Okay. How did you find that?
It was fun, but also crazy because, like, you're, like, 15 years old and you are charged with saving a life if someone drowns.
Yeah.
Which doesn't happen very often. Nobody drowned in my pool. But I mean, like, why would you trust a 15-year-old to do that?
Yeah, that's weird. Now that I think about it, that doesn't make a lot of sense, especially if it's, like, you know, touch wood, obviously, hopefully it's not, but, like, especially if it was, like, guess like an older like, and say you're not like someone who goes to the gym and stuff like that. Especially if it's
Mhm.
like an older, like sort of maybe larger person, like to have to
Yeah.
like get them out somehow. Like that's got to be tough for like a teenager.
So like the pool that I worked at had like a diving board and was 12 feet deep. It was a 12-foot deep pool in a neighborhood. And I was like, if somebody drowns, dude, RIP, because I can't help you.
Yeah, that's intense. That's more intense than I expected, actually. Yeah, now that I think about it, I'd not really given it much thought. But
But it's like a very common like teenage job in America. I don't know if it's the same way in the UK, but like anytime you go to like a pool or a water park, all the lifeguards are teenagers.
I can't say that I've noticed particularly it is. All I know is that like that doesn't surprise me based on what I've seen from like American films. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that, then it doesn't surprise me because they're always like quite young there. I always like, oh, but I always assume they're like sort of like 18, 20 maybe. But like,
yeah,
oh,
children.
fair enough. Well, that's way more intense. But that's fair enough. Did you enjoy it generally? Like, apart from maybe the lingering effect that you're in charge of someone's life.
It was cool because like I was getting paid. So it was my first time getting like an actual paycheck. So I was like, I'm rich.
Yeah, I get that. The first job, you're like, oh, money. What is this?
Yeah, it was really cool. And it wasn't like a hard job. And you're like outside and you get to talk to people.
Yeah, in the sun and stuff. Yeah, it's got to be quite nice.
Yeah, as long as no one drowns, you're cool.
Then, otherwise, not so good. Not such a good day.
Not a fun day, no.
Brilliant. Well, the next one is if I wasn't a wrestler, I'd be
a psychologist.
Really?
Yes. So I actually went to university for psychology, got a degree in psychology. I'm actually published in a medical journal.
No way.
Because when I was in the university, I was a research assistant for like a professor, and I was interested in and wanted to do a research paper. So I looked at like how worry and anxiety affects like smoking, like cigarettes. So we did a whole paper on it and ended up getting published, which was super cool. And I wanted to publish the paper because I wanted to get into a PhD program.
Right.
That's what I was like laser focused on doing, was like, I'm going to get into a PhD program. But whenever I was in the university, I rediscovered wrestling. I found Booker T's wrestling school. So that like kind of, I was like, do I want to be a wrestler or do I want to be a psychologist? And I was like, I have the rest of my life to be a psychologist. I'm going to go be a wrestler.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, if I wasn't a wrestler, I'd probably be a psychologist.
I love that. And that's still a career that can be had later down the line.
Yeah. There's no time limit on that.
Exactly. That's awesome. I love that. That's really cool. The next one is, we get a bit deep with the next one because it's my greatest fear.
Frogs.
Really? Someone else said that. Who said that? I can't remember who. Someone else has said that. And I thought that was one that I'd never heard before, but now I've heard it twice.
Yeah, no, they're so disgusting. Like if I see a frog, I will cry. Like I will cry.
Really?
Actually, I was when I was in England, I was hanging out with a bunch of people, and we went to go just walk in the woods because we were bored.
Right.
And I was like, I hope I don't see a frog. Are there any frogs out there? And people were like, no, there's no frogs. 5 minutes later, I saw a frog. Everyone just saw me have a full mental breakdown.
Oh,
no. Really embarrassing because I was like, I barely know these people.
Oh no, that's so bad. That's weird. Like, because I would have said that as well. I can't vouch for ever seeing a frog like in the wild here in the UK. So like, that's really.
I saw two actually.
They knew you were there. They were like, I've heard rumors.
Yeah.
They just came out.
Like my house here in Houston, like, so it floods a lot here. So there's like a reservoir in the back that catches all the water.
Right.
And so at night, you can hear them all croaking so, because it's mating season.
Oh,
so it's all so, you can hear it. It's like deafeningly loud. And so sometimes I'll get home from the gym late and they'll be by the door. So I have to call, I'm not joking, at like whatever time at night it is, call my husband or my mom and be like, hey, I can't go inside. There's frogs. Can you make sure there's no frogs before I sprint to the door? And I always get yelled at, like, oh my God, you're so dramatic.
Yeah.
But they do it anyway because they know I hate them.
Yeah.
And so I'll just see my husband like tired with like a flashlight. He's like, there's no frogs. And then, or if I see one, I'm like, no, there's one over there. I'm like, kick it.
But that's love, right? That's how you know it's the real thing, right? When he's willing to do that at like whatever time of night.
Yeah, that is.
Amazing. Brilliant. Well, next one, a couple of wrestling related ones. Next one is my favorite wrestling match. And let's say it's like a two-parter. Let's say your favorite match that you've ever had and your favorite match that you've ever watched.
So I would say right now my favorite match that I've had was the 2 out of 3 falls match with Giselle at RevPro.
Nice.
High stakes. That was probably my favorite because it was a really good match. Giselle and I had really good chemistry when I was there, but it was at York Hall and it was on my birthday and it was my last match in England. So everything just like lined up perfectly. And I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
probably
love that.
My favorite match that I've seen was Zack Sabre Jr. versus AJ Styles at RevPro, and it was AJ Styles' last match before he went to WWE.
Yeah.
And like I'm like such a huge Zack Sabre Jr. fan. Like it's embarrassing. like if I met him, I'd be like, can I take a picture with you? And so that match, I really, really loved it. Like anytime I'm like feeling down about wrestling, I will watch that match because it makes me fall in love with wrestling.
Nice. Well, you've given me the opportunity now to put you right on the spot and say that if in some hypothetical word, I had the power to say that you can have you can meet either Zack Sabre Jr. or Mark Anthony, who would you pick?
Oh.
You can't pick both. You can only pick one.
Honestly, probably Zack Sabre Jr.
Really?
Yes. Like, I literally got Forbidden Door just for Zack Sabre. Like, I didn't care about... I mean, I cared about other matches. But, like, he was the number one match that I wanted to see. Was Zack Sabre Jr. Like, I wouldn't know how to act if I met that man. I'm such a huge fan. Because I just think he does... Like, his style of wrestling is so unique. And just, he does so many little things so good.
Yeah.
That I'm like, I just want to learn from you. Like, I just want to learn from you because I want to pick your brain. Like, you know what you're doing. And, you know, people will say, like, technical wrestling is boring. Or, you know, people have that mindset. But, like, he takes something that people think is boring and makes it incredibly entertaining.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's, like, a skill that, like, is 1 in a million.
Yeah, for sure. No, absolutely, totally agree. The next one goes on to what I was talking about earlier with the Cara Pac match at Riptide, because for you it's and let's say in person as well, it's the biggest pop I've ever heard.
The biggest pop I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I would say honestly was probably recently was Brian Keith coming out to wrestle Shane Taylor at New Texas Pro.
Really?
Really, because he, BK is like a Houston boy, and the show was in Houston, and he comes out to this song that's called like Still Tippin', which is like a Houston anthem. Like if you're from Houston, if you grew up in the city, like you grew up listening to that song because it would just play all the time. Because it's made by 3 Houston rappers.
Okay.
And so, and he's sponsored by that music label too.
Right.
So he's allowed to come out to that song.
Nice.
And so like when he comes out to that song, everyone loses their, like people go up, bang on the ring, people are banging on the walls. Like it is something else.
Love it. Would you say it's one of the best entrances in indie music, in indie wrestling then?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
People lose their mind when he comes out with that song.
Nice.
I love Cara Noir's entrance too, obviously.
Oh, Cara's great. Like Cara always gets great action. It's probably like the most dramatic entrance I've seen.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Like that's not like a pop though, is it? It's more like you're in awe moment. Like it's like a stunned silence thing.
Yeah, you have it's like the silence is the pop.
Yeah. It's totally the opposite end. But I never really thought of it that way, like the silence being the pop. But you're totally right. It's exactly that.
Yeah.
Like if people were making noise, you'd be like, oh no, oh what?
Like,
Brilliant. The next one is a final wrestling one. It's my favorite venue to wrestle in.
Your call.
Is it?
It is. Like, there's just like a different energy there. Like, I really can't describe how special like RevPro is to me, and like the special place to have in my heart. And being able to go to like 2 call shows and seeing it grow from like, you know, when they were first opening up after the pandemic to like the second time when I was there, where like more people feel more comfortable coming out. It's just like, that's a cool venue.
Nice. That's really cool. And especially like as someone like, you know, who's UK based, to hear an American wrestler say that's really cool as well.
Yeah.
To know like that means that much to you. That's really cool. The next final couple of questions. The first one is my favorite place in the world.
My favorite place in the world, Tokyo, Japan.
Is it?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. When I was there for Marvelous, it was really cool because I actually got to like live in the dojo with the girls and train with them every day. And Tokyo is just like a different city. It's so like total culture shock, totally different from any kind of like Western city. But there's like such a beauty behind it. Like when I tell you, everything is clean, so clean. And it's a beautiful, beautiful country. I really can't explain it other than like you just have to go.
Yeah. It's in my bucket list to go. Like my partner really wants to go. She'd go now if she had the choice, but I'm really bad with flying. So like after the pandemic, you know, I need to ease back into flying on like a couple of short hauls before we're doing the big one over to Japan.
Yeah, that's a long flight.
So like, got to build yourself up to it first, right?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, let's say, you said it's your favorite place in the world. So let's say you can't answer Tokyo, but the final question is my dream holiday destination.
Oh, probably Spain.
Yeah?
Yeah, probably Spain, because obviously my family is like Hispanic, so we have like a lot of Spanish ties. My last name is like it's the name of a town in Spain.
Okay.
So I'm like, I would really love to like visit that town to see like, like this is where we came from centuries ago, you know. Nice. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. And you got to do that like thing where you take your picture with the sign, right? That says that says the town name.
Yeah. Well, like, so my last name is Olvera, right? And there's a part of Mexico City there's a giant street. It's called like Los Olveras. So when I went there when I was like 3 or 4 years old, so I have like a picture of me by the sign. And I was little in front of that sign, but I would love to also take that picture in Spain.
Nice, yeah, 2 continents.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Love it. Well, Hyan, thank you so much for coming on the Grapple Theory podcast. I hope you've had a good time.
I did. Thank you so much for having me.
Good, of course, absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. It's been so much fun. And yeah, we've got one final end sort of statement from yourself, because we always end by giving our guest a little bit more promo time. So, whether it's in the UK or the US or anywhere else in the world, and someone sees that you're wrestling a show near them and wants to come out and see you, why are you going to steal the show for the rest of 2022 into 2023 and beyond?
I feel like my resume speaks for itself, you know, PWI number 37. I'm the 2022 Sherry Martel Classic winner, New Texas Pro Champion, VWR Champion, Reality of Wrestling Champion, hopefully DFW All Pro Champion on July 29th in Dallas. I've been to the UK twice. I've been to Japan. My resume speaks for itself. So if you want to see good wrestling, you want to see Hyan.